So Alk, thank you very much for making time to share your insights into the future of leadership.
Thank you.
But before we walk into the future, can you please tell us a little bit about your own background? Where did you grow up?
Absolutely. I grew up in a little small village town called Paarl in the Western Cape of South Africa, a very beautiful part of the world, and went to school there as well.
And tell us, what was your dream career when you grew up?
Strange enough, I always wanted to run a corporate and be in agriculture. My grandfather had a wish for me to become a vicar or a reverend of a church, but I decided to stick with my dream and always been in a corporate environment.
And I believe you studied at Stellenbosch University, right?
I did indeed, yes. Stellenbosch and later the Stellenbosch Business School, but I've also been privileged to study here in London.
Can you tell us what's your best memory from your university days?
It's becoming a distant memory, but I think just to have the freedom to have the ability to form your own path and to form your own opinion and to be liberated to discover many ideas and ideologies, and that was possible for me. So I've only had positive memories, and obviously in Stellenbosch also beautiful girls.
Right. And tell us, Alk, who inspired you in your early days?
I come from a very close family. So my whole family, my grandmother and my mum's side played a big role in my views and development. But I would say that one of the triggers was going to a very, very good school in South Africa, in Paarl. And we had a headmaster there called Mr. Tom Engela. And he was really a mentor and a coach for me. He, for some reason, saw ability in me and encouraged me to go and follow my dreams. And later in life, many other people, but I would say the two of them stick out.
Now, Alk, you have turned Westfalia into a global market leader. Can you maybe, looking back over your career, can you tell us what was the turning point? Or maybe a number of turning points?
No, I wasn't able to take the credit for that. You know, Westfalia is a company which is now nearly 80 years old. So I think the credit must go to anybody before me. I've only been with the company for 3 years. I think I'm taking the company through a different phase of its development. But I would say if I don't take the credit and I just look at it holistically, the big thing was the ability to grow the company international from a base in South Africa today to 16 countries in the world, 5 continents. I don't think there's many South African companies can actually claim that. And as I say, the credit must go for the people before me.
Right. And what would you say is driving you today?
I really like to, I'm a very goal-driven person. I'm a self-starter. So I believe to be the best leader for all my stakeholders and the responsibility to make sure that our stakeholders are happy and rewarded drives me a lot. Continuous improvement. We all have to try to be better every day. Goals, specific goals, but then values. You know, if you don't have a purpose and you don't have values, then that's probably make you a bit floating around. And I would say values is probably the one which stands out in terms of everything I mentioned.
Right. Now, looking into the future, and I know it's a big question, but what does the future of leadership mean to you?
You know, we all have to adapt, and I've been thinking back of how I change over time. What gets more and more important because people makes a difference, and you know, talent in your business makes a difference. And so you have to develop softer skills, the people skill side, emotional intelligence. I would say self-awareness, Then if you're in an international role, diversity, the ability to understand different cultures, and the ability to adapt. We have all of our plans, and when something happens like COVID and Russia war and so on, the ability to be resilient enough to adapt, and then to be culturally aware. Westfalia operates in so many different cultures. The ability to bring all of them together is quite important. And I would say for anybody looking for international role, these elements are probably all critical.
Right. And what have you learned from your own journey that you consider most important for building future leaders?
Well, number one, you need to look at the basics. You need to be a master of your subject. You really need to know what you're talking about. Otherwise, people won't follow you. You need to be passionate. You have to have clear goals. All of us have to have enormous self-discipline. It's difficult running a big global group, so self-discipline is incredibly important. I think to make a difference, you need to be authentic. Authenticity is definitely important. And in that, admit when you make mistakes. We all have to make decisions, but you need to be self-aware enough to know if you made the wrong one, to admit it, own up to it, and change it. And then probably the most important thing, surround yourself with the right people. You cannot do it on your own. You need to have the right people around you.
And Alk, when you speak to aspiring leaders and maybe even your own children, what is it you tell them about social media? How should they navigate social media to build their own leadership brand?
I'm probably the wrong person to ask because I'm not overusing social media, but I do believe that social media have an important role to play. And first of all, technology makes a difference in our life today. So you need to use technology, and social media is part of that. But the only thing I will say is, don't get obsessed with that. Look around you. But what's in your hand, the gadget in your hand, is not going to make a difference. It's people standing next to you. So
right.
Have to have that sort of balance between using social media, but to talk to somebody directly is still important as well. So I will encourage the use of social media, absolutely, but that's not the be and the end all. You also need to talk to people.
Now, Alk, these are challenging times. And what is your advice for future leaders in terms of challenges? What sort of challenges should they expect to encounter in their career?
Yeah, huge challenges. I would say just now, the difference between short-term and long-term thinking. Unfortunately, maybe a few years ago, we all had the luxury to have more long-term thinking, but stakeholders, board members, investors have a desire for results, and to balance a more long-term view with the short-term results, probably it takes some maneuvering. So stakeholder alignment is incredibly important. Then the balance between your values and your company values and profitability. Sometimes that doesn't always sit hand in hand. So again, important to have that stakeholder alignment. I think the economy is incredibly difficult, and we've been in the last 2 decades relatively spoiled with low inflation and so on. But the ability now to navigate through this economic times is going to be very important. And then I would say when you manage a lot of people, the difference between what many of your colleagues want and what the company wants is not always aligned, and that needs to be balanced. So I would say combination of that.
And Alk, if you were to design a curriculum for future leaders, what are some of the new skills you would want to factor in?
Again, softer skills. To have qualifications, a bachelor's degree or whatever is nearly now just an entry point. Ability to find meaningful relationships. That is in networking and so on. You have to do that. Great communication skills. do effort to be able to communicate on different levels. I think the chance to see a bigger picture, that is sort of, I believe, is often missed now. I think global awareness. We not living in little silos. We are a global village, to have a global view, and then embrace technology for decision making and for accurateness.
Right. Now, Alk, as a mentor to future leaders, can you maybe share a success story or two where you mentored an upcoming leader and that person took your advice to heart?
You know, for me, the mentor in my personal life and now in Westfalia, which stands out, is somebody which is not alive anymore, and it's our founder of our business, Dr. Hans Perensky. And he started Westfalia years ahead of where everybody was, focusing on the environment, on biodiversity, community involvement, and so on. At a time when in South Africa specifically it was not the norm. I would say that the ability to go and do something which future generations talk about long after you're not there anymore is what inspired me. And that's the type of leaders and mentors I would personally recommend you follow. There are many which potentially are very well-known people, but I would say find somebody with the right values.
Right. And looking back over your career, your leadership career, Alk, and maybe your learning journey, are there any role models of leadership that you would recommend future leaders should study?
Listen, we're all different, and everybody needs to feel aligned with the leadership style which they want. So I can only tell you what worked for me is that in a business which is diverse all over the world, a bigger company, you need to be a servant leader. You need to follow by or lead by example, because otherwise people won't follow you. You need to be authentic. So that is the type of leaders which I admire and recommend people follow. But that is just my value system. You know, everybody else may look at it differently. There's many business leaders which on the surface are very successful, which probably won't be my role models. So I think you need to look at your own values and then pick somebody which sits in that. You know, there are plenty in the world which I think is worthwhile following.
Right. Now, Alk, where can our viewers follow you and how should they connect with you?
I would say the easiest one is LinkedIn, where I am welcoming everybody to connect with myself, and I commit to come back as soon as humanly possible. But I travel a lot and cannot always answer immediately, but I will come back to everybody. I would say that's probably the best place.
And last but not least, Alk, what is your advice for the millions of kids out there who are now finishing school, looking to start their career? What are maybe one or two success principles they should keep in mind?
I would say that do not listen to negative voices around you which say there's no hope, there's no future. You need to get all those negative voices around you. Positive thinking still is going to make a difference. I think there's a great future for everybody in the world. I always listen to people who talk about the good old days. I actually rather like to live in the era we are in today because I think there's so many opportunities. So I would say persevere, continue to try. If you get a knock or two, stand up again. The real winners is the people which persevere, and you know, life is a marathon, it's not a sprint. So if you don't always get the instant results you were hoping for, don't give up. I'm encouraged by the youth of today. I think they can make a difference, and I hope that everybody listening will know that by persevering you can achieve anything you want.
Well, Alk, thank you so much for sharing your insights and your wisdom into the future of leadership. and playing such an important part in securing food security and nutrition for the world.
Thank you, sir. No, it's an honor to be on your program, and we will continue to do our best.
Thank you.